little bit of coffee, because it's always Halloween here. Those watching on YouTube, you can see. Got a Sam coffee cup, because I don't even play around. I need that spookiness in myself. But welcome back to another episode of Sippin With Sin, the podcast where we talk about stuff and things and stuff that are important to everybody, and it's just scientifically proven. It's facts. You know, we don't argue it. We don't argue what is put in front of us on the science. It's just the number one podcast of stuff and things that are important to everybody. Factuals. There you go. But welcome back to another episode, ladies and gents. Hope you're doing well, doing amazing, doing fantastic. Hopefully we won't have technical issues this week, but you know, if we do, I don't know what the deal is. For those watching on YouTube, the video feed keeps cutting out every so long. I don't know why. You don't really hear it on the audio end, so there you go. Let your ears rejoice. But the video version acts goofy, and I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but you know, it is what it is. But we got a fun episode in store for you. And without further ado, let's bring back our one and only, our esteemed colleague, Mr. Christian.
How's everyone doing on this fabulous week?
A fabulous what?
Week.
Oh, I don't know what I thought you said.
What did you think I said?
I don't know. I was really lost. It was like fabulous week. I don't know what you were saying. I was so confused. God.
I should have just made up a word. That's
on
hilarious.
This fabulous Tituba. Oh my God, dude, my brain is honestly like legit pudding this week. I don't know, my stuff is fried.
By the way, Tituba is still one of my favorite names of all time. I wouldn't name a person Tituba like a child, but
we did the
I
worst.
Still love that name.
Okay, so it's a little inside joke, the Tituba thing. We were trying to play Path of Exile, I think.
No, it was
Path of Exile.
Diablo.
No,
was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was Diablo.
No, because it was free, and we were like, "Ooh, what's this game? Let's check it out." And then we saw the skill tree, and we were like, "Oh shit," because it's like ultra in depth. I still want to go back and play Path of Exile, but I remember I made something. I named it Tituba, and that's all we would yell, like run around question was Tituba, just screaming.
It's like the go-to name for me now.
Maybe we started saying it on Diablo, but then we made a character on Path of Exile, Tituba, and it just made it worse. Like the lore.
You know what? I did start with Diablo because I made a witch doctor named Tituba. Because you would always say that. Because I was watching that Salem show at the time, and we would say Tituba, and then that just took off and just became different shit. But yeah, man.
Speaking of Diablo,
something that I can't not say now. I always say it.
Dude, Diablo 4 looks everything that I want it to be. I'm so incredibly excited for that game. And after playing the beta a couple weekends back, which they have another one coming out May 12th, I think. But after playing the beta, god dang, I was like, all right, if this just doesn't suck, like, or it just, like, I'm playing this game. If there's just not something that just immediately turns me off of it, and I played it, I saw the cutscenes, all the gameplay, I was like, yep, I'm done. I'm sold. You got what I wanted. It's Diablo. It's better than... Oh, God, it was so good. I'm so excited. Necromancer, I was running around with, like, Legion of Dead everywhere, just murdering everything. It was sick as hell.
Jeez.
I can't wait. Super excited for that. But that segues us into our first segment, and something that's a reoccurring segment we do every week, and we like to talk about what we've been watching, listening, reading, playing, or kind of just doing this past week. So, Christian, what have you been into? We'll let you lead off.
Man, this week has been a really busy week for me just in general. I've been doing a lot of artwork and a lot of IRL like work stuff. But aside from that, I haven't had a lot of time to watch anything. I've watched a bit of the last season of The Wire. Since that's the last season I'm on, I'm trying to finish that up strong. So I have watched a few episodes of that. I've been watching some old wrestling, looking at a lot of early John Cena, Brock Lesnar stuff in my free time. And then just trying to catch up with comic book stuff in general. I've been reading, I will say this. I read a comic this week that was fantastic. It was the final issue of Deceased. And for those of you who don't know, Deceased is like a zombie take on DC stories, kind of in the vein of like Marvel Zombies, but in my opinion, it's much better. I honestly don't really know how to. I honestly don't know how to describe the story without going into heavy details, but Deceased is so good. There's a couple of stories with this story. If you get a chance, anybody listening, watching, read Deceased. I've never been a huge Damien fan. He's not been my favorite. He's never probably going to be my favorite Robin. But I will say this: Damien in the DC story, like, fucking won me over. He really did. He was a great character. John Kent stepping up as as Superman in the story was really good. What happens with Batman, with Wonder Woman, with everybody that we know from the Justice League, fantastic. The characters that we are introduced or reintroduced to in the story, fantastic. The ending, we got Deceased issue, I think 8 this week, or 6 or 8. I can't remember at the top of my head right now because my brain's a little fried as well. The last issue fucking got me. It got me. Like, I felt good and triumphant and sad, and then I felt a little bit depressed, and then I felt happy again. Like, I felt everything, rage, all of it, from this one issue of this story. It was fantastic. It was fantastic, and I haven't read too many comics this year that I've given perfect 10s to, but that issue is a perfect 10. No questions asked. It was amazing. And that was one of the best things that I've done this week, is read that. So out of all the things that I've done, all the art, all the job stuff, real life stress, that was one of the best things that I've done, was take the time out to read that final issue of that story. So that's me, guys. That's what I've been doing this week. Obviously, that's high praise for a story you probably never heard of. But if you get the chance, go out and find Deceased. Read the entirety of the story. Read all the tie-ins, everything. It's worth it. It's really good. It's one of the best things coming out of DC right now, and I don't say that lightly. Like, I mean that. It's fantastic. But yeah, that's what I've been doing this week. What about you?
Nice. So I watched a show. It took us a little longer than we should have, but I've been busy with dad stuff and then fighting internet and trying to stream and all this stuff. But the missus has been crazy busy at work. But we watched, it's a documentary, and I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was about the Boston Marathon bombing. It's on Netflix, and it's like a 3-episode. Really interesting. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot. Like, I remember all of it because it happened in 2013. But there was a lot that I didn't know about, I guess because where we live, or maybe like I didn't pay as close attention to the news or something. But there was a lot of stuff like gunfire, like a whole, essentially like war zone at one point when they confronted them, where they were throwing like bombs and stuff at the cops. And like there was a whole bunch of stuff that went down. It is an interesting watch. I've been kind of on a documentary kick. I love documentaries, and I like, just hearing the different details and things and learning more about stuff. So we watched that. Haven't really watched many shows or anything or movies this week. I've been slacking. I did watch the Power Rangers thing yesterday with my son.
How was that?
I'm
supposed to be watching.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's like Once and Always, or Once and Forever, something like that.
It is good for nostalgia purposes. It's extremely cheesy. And definitely low budget, because a lot of the stuff they do, I'm like, man, come on. Like the putties, I can see the where the suit is like pulled. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like where the top of the headpiece is pulled through. You could see it on certain things. It's good for nostalgia. They have a nice moment where they kind of have like a tribute to Jason David Frank, and then I can't think of her name, but the actress that played Trini. They both have passed away. They had that. They have, what is his name? I can't think of the actor's name. They played Billy and they played Zach. Both of those originals are back.
Yost, I think is his name.
Bless Billy's heart. But whoever dyed that boy's hair to get him ready for this, you can see literally like at the bottom of his hairline, you can see the like dark dye where it stained his scalp, like where they had the thing on. So bless his heart. It is what it is. You had the actor that played Rocky come back, and then an actress who has like an Australian accent or something. I think I can't remember. That played not Kimberly, but played Pink Ranger. I can't remember her name. I didn't watch that one with her, but I mean, it is what it is. It's like an hour long. The story's okay. Like, it was good for nostalgia purposes. Like, I watched it. It brought back my childhood a little bit, and I was like, sweet. And then that was what it was. And nothing like crazy. Other than that, I've played a few games this week. One of them being Xdefiant, which I'm not going to lie, I didn't really even know about. And then it kind of just showed up. It's done by Ubisoft, and it's a first-person shooter that essentially is like COD. It's like Call of Duty. And I was like, okay, so it's a COD wannabe. But then when I played it, it plays really smooth. And they do something a little different. So there are characters you play. Like, there's the different modes. There's a mode kind of like Overwatch, like an escort mode. And there's like these different modes, domination, all kinds of stuff like that, right? And then you have like loadouts. You can unlock stuff very similar to COD, Battle Pass, all that stuff, right? But your different factions in it are from Ubisoft games. So you have the Pyro dudes. I can't remember what they're called, but they're from The Division. You have Liberators from Far Cry. You have ones from Siphon Filter. You have another from like Ghost Recon. Like, I thought that was another from Watch Dogs. Like, I thought that was a pretty dope little thing in it. The game's pretty fun. It plays pretty well. They've had server issues, and they have like some netcode issues that they're aware of. But it is a closed beta at the moment. We were lucky enough to get access to it to check it out. But it's going to be a free-to-play arena shooter, and I'll definitely probably be checking it out when it comes out because it was fun. If you like that style of game, it's fun. It's a fun shooter. And free-to-play, I feel like, is a really smart move for them, especially if they're wanting to compete with COD and everything going on there. So that was pretty fun. I definitely plan on checking it out. I think the time of recording this, the beta goes on for like another couple days, and then they're going to shut it down. But then another game that I've been pretty excited for, and I will say it's the first time I'm looking to get back into this franchise since probably the second game, maybe the third. I think maybe I did play the third quite a bit. Maybe. I know I played a lot of the second and the different ones of the second, but that will be the new Street Fighter game. And Street Fighter 6 demo actually dropped. Time of recording this yesterday. So
Nice.
On 420 it dropped. And it's very limited what you can do. If you have a PS4 or PS5, you can play it. It's like a 15 gig download. You can play a tutorial, like essentially giving you like the basics of battle stuff. You can play a head-to-head, like a one-on-one fight, and the only characters are Ryu and Luke. That's the only ones you have unlocked to play, which is fine. It's whatever. And then I think the main purpose of this demo is they actually dropped, what is it called? World Tour? World Tour. I think that's what it is. And World Tour is essentially their new mode. And to me, it reminds me of kind of like the Dragon Ball games are doing, or if you're into NBA 2K, how they had their neighborhood and stuff where you could kind of roam around when you weren't playing games and stuff like that. So, but it's different. So you get to play like the first chapter. You get to make your avatar, which is your custom character, which is pretty sick. It looks like you'll be able to have different movesets for them and learn different abilities and stuff, which is cool. And of course, clothing and all that stuff. You level up. So essentially, it's like a Street Fighter RPG in a way. You level up. The cool thing I really liked is once you kind of get out into the world, like past the little basic tutorial thing, you have like characters all around the world, and you can run up to them and press square and start fighting them. Like they'll have like a thing that says fight or like talk. Even like a food vendor, I walked up and was like, "What's up?" And it was like fight. They put their arms together like that, and then you start like throwing down with them, like in the world. So that's kind of fun. I'm hoping, not just wondering, but like say me and Christian are in and we're playing and we get in the same world. I'm wondering if we can just like run up to each other and start battling, because that would actually be pretty dope to like do that. We'll see how it all plays out. It seems very promising, and I'm actually excited for it. Like I said, this is the first one. I didn't play a lot of 5. I didn't play a lot of 4. I think 3, maybe not. I know I played a ton of 2, but I've been kind of out of the Street Fighter grind for a while. But I've been wanting to get back into it, so I think 6 is going to be my introduction, and the online seems that aspect is pretty cool, and I'm excited to see because it has like a story and everything, so that'll be pretty fun. As far as combat wise, it played smooth. It was pretty fluid. I enjoyed it. The art style is pretty cool. Characters are beefy as hell, but that Street Fighter, like, dudes' arms and stuff are massive. When you look at them compared to like Mortal Kombat, yeah, Mortal Kombat people are jacked, but this is like Popeye forearm looking stuff, you know, like big ass forearms, and dudes' thighs are like gonna choke you out and everything. Like it's wild. So, but it looks good. It's promising. I got pretty much all I needed to know out of it. I'm excited with it, and I can't wait. I can't wait to play it.
It's good, man. Like that's what you want to hear when you're talking about games like that, especially. And I mean, I'll get there eventually. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. Like I'm not sure. It really just depends on how my time goes. I know when the game drops, as long as it gets decent reviews, I'll get it because I actually am a fan of Street Fighter. But I really want to know what the roster is going to be like first.
They announced a couple yesterday. So yesterday was like a showcase or something. Akuma and a couple others were announced, and I don't remember who. I just seen an article, though, that popped up a second ago that said Street Fighter 6 will let you fight a refrigerator. I don't know what the hell that's about, but okay. I mean, I'm hoping I can find the roster real quick. Wait, what is this? First year DLC characters. Maybe that's who it was. Oh. During year 1, new characters. Rashid, AKI, Ed, and Akuma are the characters who will be made available in the first year of content. So there's your DLC characters. As far as roster, I don't know.
I mean, we'll see though. Like that's kind of where I am when it comes to Street Fighter. They've disappointed me in the past with who was available, who you had to buy extra for a DLC and stuff like that. So like I said, I'll just wait and see. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I'll wait a little while until they come up with a compilation disc that has all of the DLC in it, and I'll start playing it at that point. We'll see what happens.
I will say though the little world tour mode, it's different and it's kind of interesting. So we'll see how that plays out and if it works. But seems like an interesting take, like the RPG elements. You had like items you could take, which really reminded me of what Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
Like kind of how you could run around and have that stuff. It kind of had that vibe, but definitely more of like the Street Fighter stuff. So we'll see. But it was cool.
Right, well,
it's out now, if you have
cool.
a PlayStation 4 or 5, you can download it for free. I don't know about Xbox and PC. I think the demo or PC is going to be a little bit, but I don't know. But yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds all things considered, it sounds good, and I'm most likely going to be checking it out.
I did have one little piece of news that I wanted to share with you all about my week. So my week Monday started off pretty interesting. As a lot of you know, we've been grinding over on kick.com/IamSinister. Just saying, shameless plug. We've been grinding over there, checking out the platform, but Kick started interesting. We were vibing out. We were just kind of, well, I said Kick started. Week started interesting. We were just kind of vibing on Kick and doing our thing and pushing through internet issues and all that, and just hanging out and having a good time, just a jolly old time, And out of nowhere, like an RKO, I guess Kick staff come in and they were like, "Boom, you're now verified over here. Congratulations." So we got the little green check mark. I don't think it really means anything other than it stands out in like chat and it shows that we're the official IamSinister channel. But it's an awesome accomplishment. You have to have certain metrics to even be eligible to get it. So the fact that they just come in and I didn't even like have to do anything, it's super appreciated and super awesome to have it. So I'm stoked on that. A lot of the updates and stuff they've been talking about on Kick have been sounding fantastic, and they're on top of things. It seems like, and definitely taking feedback really well. And I'm excited for the partnership program when they unlock, like they finally release that. I can't wait to grind and hopefully become a Kick partner and stuff. But it's been good seeing a lot of old Mixer names over there and a lot of Facebook people and Twitch people and just all kinds of people. It's been fun. But
congratulations, man. That's good. That's good news.
Yeah. The grind. But I guess that's going to take us to our first topic. And Christian, I think this is one that you wanted to take point on.
Yeah, man. There's a character in horror that most of us know, if not all of us know.
Corey.
And Corey, is that what you said?
Yeah, Corey.
When you said Corey, I immediately thought Matthews. Boy.
Boy Meets World. What? We're talking horror, and you go to Boy Meets World? What? Uh-oh. Did we lose him? We might have lost him, ladies and gentlemen. On the video version, you may have lost Christian. Like I said, I don't know what's been going on with this lately. For those that watch on YouTube, it's been acting a hot mess. I don't know why. I don't know. Could be the internet struggles I've been having as of late. Or it could have been, I don't know what it is. But it seems to disconnect us just on the video. Like, well, I don't know. It could do it on the audio too. Who knows? But it is what it is. We try to push through, and he's coming back. There we go. Look at that. See?
Yeah.
Like, he speaking of like Dragon Ball stuff, he just did instant transmission just then. So he just went over to Japan and popped right back like it was nothing.
Just wanted to say what's up to some friends.
Yeah, he just went over. What's up? All right, hold on. I'm recording. Pop. Be back. Bloop.
Jumping right back in though. We most of us know this character, and this character is, for all intents and purposes, terrifying. And I just wanted to take a minute to kind of go over and appreciate what this character is and what they have done for just the horror community over the years. And that character is Pennywise, or Bob Gray, the dancing clown. And I wanted to start off by asking you, Sin, when was the first time you had any experience with the character Pennywise?
Any experience with Pennywise? Like the first time I was exposed to him?
Yeah.
I was a kid. I don't remember how old I was, but it came out. When did it? 90? When did the miniseries come out?
Yeah, that came out in 90.
It was 90? So I was under 10. I was young. I was pretty young. And I want to say we were my family had went to hang out with some friends. And I was sitting in their living room watching TV. And the miniseries come on. And I remember seeing Pennywise. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, here I am as a little kid, and this creepy-ass clown's in, like a drainage sewer. And I'm just like, oh, hell no. And then just him walking around and, like, doing the stuff. And I'm referring to Tim Curry's Pennywise, obviously, because, yeah. But, so I would have been really, really young. I'm going to say, dude, I don't know how old I was. Maybe it was, well, if it was on TV, unless they were replaying it, I guess it would have had to have been in the 90. Because it was a mini-series on TV originally. It wasn't a movie.
Yeah, so they filmed it to be like a mini series almost, but it was shot like a movie.
Yeah.
So everybody
they
who
released
watched
in
it,
parts, like on the I can't remember what station it was on either.
It was a network. It came on Sci-Fi a lot.
Oh, really? What?
And it was definitely
like a network though, like an ABC or like one of those.
I think it was I'm actually gonna have to look that up while you're talking about it, because it was.
And this was the miniseries was popular with Stephen King, especially in the 90s. Because I remember there was a couple others they did. Wasn't the Stand one?
Yeah. Also, yeah, that
they
was
did.
as well.
I feel like they did a few of his books into miniseries, which then later got released as movies. Because essentially, by the time you take 3 or 4 episodes or 3 episodes or whatever it is, I mean, because
it was ABC. It was ABC.
I thought it was on like a local-ish network, like one of those. Because I
was
feel like
definitely
that's what come on.
Yeah, they made it straight up for ABC. It was made for ABC, and that's one of the main reasons why it didn't have a whole lot of like blood and gore and stuff in it, because ABC was like, absolutely not.
But that would have been my first time is watching. I'm assuming on ABC whenever I was really
young. It came out in November. I want to say the exact date for it was November 18th. And it aired on ABC, and it was 2 episodes, because the way that they filmed it was you had the kids' story, which was an episode, and then you had the adult story, which was an episode, the finale. So they took place that way.
They both were like,
I remember
roughly an hour and a half, hour and 20, something like that. Because, I mean, it's a long movie when you watch the whole thing.
Yeah, when you watch the entire thing, it is pretty long. And I remember watching it in those 2 parts as a kid, and yeah, it is the longest book that I've ever read, and it's going to be the longest book that I ever read, because I highly doubt that there's another book that will hold my attention that, because it's ridiculous. It's long as shit. And I will say this, as a huge fan of that book in particular and Stephen King, you can absolutely cut out like 10 chapters of that book and the story would be the same, if not better. Like, you don't need everything that you get from the book. But aside from that, back to the miniseries. It was released 2 parts, November 18th, 1990, on ABC. It was an ABC Network original, directed by Lee Wallace. I want to say Tommy Lee Wallace. I said Lee Wallace. His name's Tommy Lee Wallace.
I remember
Me.
as a kid, I lumped
Um,
because I didn't know better. Like I said, I was really young and probably shouldn't have been watching that stuff. But my parents, I guess, just were like, whatever, he's being good, leave him alone, kind of deal. I lumped Pennywise and Attack of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space kind of together because of the clown. Being a kid, I was like, evil clown, and that like ran together. And then it went until I was a little older, I was like, oh, and like I started like separating like what I watched when and stuff.
really, really big. You said the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's actually just called Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I think you're thinking of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh yeah, probably.
And you just lump those together. That's really funny to hear, but yeah,
tomatoes,
I
clowns, all the same thing, right?
It's all the same.
Yeah, just throw it all together. Attack of the Killer Tomato. You're right. I told you my brain's pudding today. Everything's just kind of like that. That's how stuff's going.
That's how it goes, man. When you're busy and when you're doing stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
But yeah, man. So my first interaction experience with Pennywise, with it, right? I was definitely young. So just for context, when this came out, I was born. I was not even a year old when this came out, so I didn't see this until much later. I was 7, 8 when I saw this for the first time, because I remember it was on. I saw it, I think, on the Sci-Fi Channel, so that's probably why I said Sci-Fi earlier. But my grandmother raised me, so I grew up with her like from childhood to adulthood, and she was an avid reader, and she liked to read mystery stuff, but she dipped her toes into horror novels a bit, and she's one of the reasons why I like in general and to read horror novels to begin with. So she I remember seeing the commercial, right, for it coming on Sci-Fi, and I wanted to watch it so bad. I wanted to see it. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And I was at my aunt's house, and my mom saw the commercial. And my mom, I call my grandmother my mom just for the sake of the story. She allowed me to watch any kind of horror that I wanted, because horror is my favorite genre, even when I was a kid. Aside from superhero stuff, it was horror, 100%. So I've been watching horror stuff forever, and there was no limitation. She was like, he likes horror, just let him have it. He's quiet, just let him do it. He knows right from wrong, it's fine. It was to this day, it was the only horror thing in general that my mom forbade me from watching. She forbade me from watching it and told me, no, you can't. That's one that you can't watch. You're going to be too scared. Like, I can't let you do that one. I'm not going to let you do that one. No. And I was taken aback. I was like, what do you mean no? And as a child, if your parent tells you that you can't do something, all you want to do is what they told you not to do.
Yep.
So I was like, I have to find a way to watch this and her not know. Turns out my mom didn't want me to read this because she read a few chapters of it and it scared the shit out of her. And she was like, if it scared me that bad reading it, how bad is it going to scare him watching it? I can't let him watch it. So me being the little shit that I am, I watched it by myself one night. And yeah, I was scared, but I wasn't like as scared as she said. The only scene that I saw before she forbade me, because right, the commercial came on and the movie popped up, and it was a random scene, and this was the first scene of the movie that I saw. It was the only thing that I saw for like a solid few months before I got to watch it myself. It's the scene in the original miniseries where Pennywise is like coming through the fucking drain of the shower, And that was all I saw, was him opening the shower and popping his head out. And that's all I saw. And I took that scene and ran with it in my head. And it was the scariest shit. I'm talking about, like, I'm in my bed at night, clenching, trying not to piss myself because I'm so scared. Every shadow is this clown. I don't know what I'm gonna fucking do. Hearing my mom forbade me from watching it, I was like, this shit is so scary. I'm gonna watch all of these kids get fucking murdered. And I'm next. That's what it is. And there's a black kid in there too. I'm thinking he's gonna die first. He's the black kid. It's the 90s. Black people usually die first. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. I can't even take a fucking shower anymore. And it's not just me. There's plenty of other people. Like, I didn't really do this so much, but a friend of mine was telling me up until now, adulthood, he used to take a washcloth when he showered and put it over the drain while he was showering because he was afraid that Pennywise was going to get him. And I remember being like, dude, I completely understand why you would think that. So like I said, I watched the movie. It wasn't nearly as scary as my mom made it seem, and as scary as I had it in my head. And then watching it again later on when I got a little bit older, I was like, this actually isn't scary at all. I made this up. But all that said, Pennywise himself is fucking terrifying. He's a killer clown, this alien creature,
technically from outer
feeds
space
on
also.
your fears. Yeah, he is.
Well,
he's this entity.
Yeah. No, he's not actually from outer space, is he?
He is.
Oh, he is. So he's a killer clown from outer space.
Yeah. And if in his origin, it's like briefly explored in the book. He crashed to Earth. He crash landed on Earth from another dimension, like hundreds of years ago.
You know, I'm kind of glad that they haven't went into, like, in all the movies, they haven't went super in depth in the craziness that is the, like, backstory of Pennywise, because it starts getting out there pretty far. Do what?
They're supposed to be doing that now with
the Dairy
Welcome
show?
to Dairy. Yeah.
Well, I think that's like, my feeling is is the first one where they show like the old scenes of like Bob Gray and stuff, you know, all that.
It's the second one, I believe.
Oh, where they're showing, like, that is kind of what I'm feeling it'll be more like. Now, obviously, probably, I don't think Skarsgård's signed on to do it yet, or if he is. But I feel like it's going to be more like that, other than, like, the stuff I'm referencing is, like, there's a turtle or something. Like, there's a bunch of weird shit they have that's, like, not shown in the movie. Like, Stephen King went, like, way out there with some stuff.
He's like an ancient, like, obviously multi-dimensional, trans-dimensional entity of evil, essentially, and crash lands on Earth years and years ago. He preys on children. He preys on adults sometimes, but they say in the book, like, you really get a lot of this information from the book and not from the subsequent movies and miniseries. But Pennywise himself, the entity, preys on children more because he kind of eats their fear, right? And it's much easier to stand the fears of a child than an adult, because adults fear shit like, aside from like death, right? Non-existence. Adults fear stuff like being alone and bills and complicated adult things, you know what I'm saying? Getting broken up with, shit like that, like divorce, fucking losing a child, like those types of things are all fears that typically most adults have, but children fear very childish things. You know what I'm saying? Werewolves, lepers, clowns, the dark, you know, shit like that. Very, very easy for because Pennywise is a shapeshifter. So his whole thing is, it's kind of like a Freddy Krueger entity, essentially. Like, he understands, he gets in your head, he understands what you are afraid of, and then manifests himself as whatever you are afraid of. And the more afraid of or of him that you are, the better that you taste. It's kind of like tenderizing the meat, is what he says in the book, to characters in the book. So when you're reading the book, you get way more of that information, and you start seeing much more of how he relates to people. But that's why he typically goes for kids, because their fears are way easier to manipulate. Their fears are way easier to manifest. So it's easier for him to target them. And because he's like this magical trans-dimensional entity of evil, he has a fucking plethora of powers. You know what I'm saying? So he obviously, we told you he can shapeshift, he can manipulate reality. Like if you're a reality warper like that, you're up there in the power scale, upper echelon of the power scale. So he's ridiculously powerful, and he can go unnoticed by adults. Like Derry Maine, he has this dome, I guess, of influence over the town, and it kind of makes all the adults oblivious to what is really going on. That's how his power, his magic works, and he typically comes about as a clown because it's easier for him to get close to kids because kids love and are super afraid of clowns. So it's really easy for him to kind of manipulate that way. And I believe in the book as well, uh, it's like roughly, I don't think it's fully 27, but it's roughly 27 years is what it takes for him to go into hibernation and then wake up, and then he eats a bunch of kids again, people in general, and then he goes to sleep again. He keeps doing that, and it went like in the movies. For those of you who haven't read the book, like Mike figures it out. The one black character, Mike figures out what's going on. Every 27 years, there's some great tragedy, because what happens is before he goes back to sleep, he typically does something super fucking horrific and people in some kind of massacre that seems like a big it's like a big stain on history is what he leaves every time he decides every time he's getting ready to go back to sleep. So if you follow those, you can see when he's about to go to sleep, when he's about to come back, that kind of shit. And I think in the book he's also like 6'3". So Pennywise is a tall son of a bitch. So like he's huge. And Robert Gray, or Bob Gray, is the other name that he goes by. That's like his human kind of name that he uses when he's doing clown shit. And Pennywise, the dancing clown, is kind of like the persona that he made for himself, doing clown things way back in the day, like in the 30s, 40s, I want to say it was, because the original story takes place in the 60s, I want to say, is when the original story takes place, and then we get the updated version of that story taking the
might have lost him again, folks. He might have instant, I don't know what I'm trying to say, instant transmissioned out. I think he's right. I think the original story does take place in the 60s. It's either 60s or 50s. It's older, though. It is definitely older. I just had an epiphany while we were talking about Pennywise, and I definitely am going to bring this up to Christian when he comes back. But I wonder how much inspiration the creators of Jeepers Creepers took from Pennywise and from the Stephen King story. Pennywise comes out every 27 years. They're in Derry, Maine. In Jeepers Creepers, he comes out every 23 years, I believe. I could be wrong on that. I think it's 23 years. And the first one, I think Justin Long's character's name is Derry, which is interesting. So, comes out, feeds, smells fear. I wonder, that sounds pretty familiar. So, I'm assuming they took quite a bit of inspiration from that, but I could be wrong. And I think he's coming back. I think he's appearing back. We see the thing popping back up.
Yeah, popping back in here.
I had a question for you that while you were talking about all that, I had of an epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pennywise has been out for a long time. Like, I want to say 80s is when he wrote it.
The book came out in the 80s for sure.
How much inspiration? This is a question for you. How much inspiration do you think the creators of Jeepers Creepers took from it? Reason being, Pennywise comes out every 27 years, roughly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Creeper comes out 23 years, I think, something like that. Mm-hmm. Other thing, I believe, I could be really wrong on this. I think in the first movie, Justin Long's character's name is Derry, and that's Derry, Maine is where Pennywise happens. And then, of course, the smell and fear feeds off of that, kind of like in a way. Yeah. He doesn't necessarily feed off fear like Freddy and all, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was actually going to go into that because there's very clearly a bunch of influence from Stephen King's It to The Creeper. They both feed on fear.
I don't know
Obviously, you've
why I
already
just
made the
now put
dairy.
that together in my head, but talking about, I was like, damn, that's actually pretty similar premise, like, and kind of
Mhm,
backstory in a way.
mhm. Yeah, no, it definitely uses Pennywise as huge influence. Like the director, we won't really get into the director too much, just because of the controversy that surrounds him. But
Who are we talking? What director? Are we talking about Jeepers?
yeah, the director of Jeepers Creepers. I don't know if you've heard about the controversy
Are we talking about
for
the
that person.
original Jeepers Creepers?
Yeah,
I don't even know who directed. I'm gonna be
his
honest.
name's his name's Victor Silva. And
Why does
really
that sound
quick, we'll get
familiar?
into it. Get into it super quick. I'll just say this. We'll move on. Victor Silva got into a lot of trouble because of he was into a lot of like CP and stuff back in the day, and there's a lot of like child assault things going on with
Oh
him.
no.
But yeah, well, I'll just say that, and you can look that up yourself
Oh
and kind of
god. Okay,
see how
that's
that
all
goes.
I
That's
need to
why,
know. Oh god.
yeah, that is the reason why you don't see a lot of people talking in general about Jeepers Creepers, because they don't want to be associated with Victor Silva and his past and all that stuff. And that's another reason why the sequels for Jeepers Creepers are ass.
Sequels
So
are
there you go.
well. Jeepers Creepers 2, I will say isn't bad. It's okay. First one's the best.
Jeepers Creepers
2
two,
is
Jeepers Creepers 2 is fine.
yeah, but after that,
I
boo
the
boo shoes.
yeah
Like I can't even try to like give them any kind of good nod because I watch them like this is awful. Like this is
yeah
just
they're real bad. They're real bad. They're real bad, and they just get worse each time. Each time another one comes out, it's just even worse. But with that said, there's a lot of influence. You already made the dairy connection. Um, it takes place in a small town essentially.
mm-hmm,
We already made the fear connection. It's a creature feature.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely a lot of influence on there. Pennywise influence is everywhere. Look at things like Stephen King took a lot of influence from Gacy as well. You know, like there, it's everywhere.
True.
Anytime you see anything killer clown esque, it's either coming from Gacy or it's coming from King or it's coming from both. That's typically how it goes when you see clown shit that's supposed to be scary.
So did he
Um,
say that he took Pennywise from Gacy? That's interesting because Gacy was 70s, I think. He was in
yeah,
like
he definitely
the
got
huge era of
influence.
serial killers. Well, like all of them.
Yeah, he 100% got influence from Tom Wayne Gacy for when it
Feeding
comes to
on little
Pennywise.
boys,
Absolutely.
all that, which
Mhm.
Gacy didn't feed on him, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, yeah, but like I said, he took hella influence from that. Like he was even his whole thing. Stephen King's whole thing was like, what do kids fear? Clowns were inherently scary to King in general, just because clowns are weird. They have the face where they're constantly smiling, but they're not. Their faces were like full blown like white, like porcelain white, and it looked weird and it was off putting. And there was something off putting about clowns in general. Then you had the Gacy stuff coming up. That was happening around that time when he was coming up with the idea and writing this stuff. So there's a lot of things that fed into the real life story of him writing the character of Pennywise, and he just took that and made it ridiculous, as you guys can see from the little backstory that I just gave you of Pennywise himself. And in the book, his name is Pennywise, but the kids call it it.
yeah,
They call Pennywise it most of the time in the book because they don't know how to describe him. Because he, like I said, he doesn't always appear as a clown. He appeared as a werewolf. He appeared as a person experiencing a high level of leprosy at one point. He appeared as I want to say the Mummy. He did a lot of Universal Monster shit because that's what the kids were watching at that in the story. They were watching a lot of Universal Monster
because
movies
they're
and
smart.
scared of them. Yeah, and they were scared of them, so Pennywise would show up as those characters to scare the shit out of the kids so they would taste better. Um, And there's even one of the bullies in the movies. You remember Belch was one of the characters in the movies. Belch, when he appeared to Belch, his fears were very fucking weird and sophisticated for the most part. So when Pennywise showed up to him, he just looked like he was melting because he couldn't pinpoint what that kid's fear was. Then he found out later that he was afraid of leeches. So I won't even get into that story, but leeches were a big part of that kid's death, and it got really fucking weird. But Pennywise's natural enemy was this big ass space turtle called Maturin.
So weird.
I know,
like
it's fucking weird.
All-powerful entity that like shapeshifts and all this crazy stuff, and he's so strong, and his natural enemy is a damn turtle.
Named Maturin, and they're from what's called the Macroverse.
The what verse?
And that's another Macroverse.
Macro?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the Macroverse, there's a bunch of things like that. And that came about because good and evil, like those things, came about because I think it was Maturin the turtle, like fucking threw up. He had a stomach ache and threw up, and that universe became the universe that like Pennywise hails from. And then
how
you'll
many
see
drugs was Stephen King on when he came up with this part?
Oh, dude, Stephen King was going in at around
he had
this
to
time.
be a turtle throws up a universe. Like, just think about that.
Yeah, but he was. But you gotta think though. If you're a King fan, this is around the time where Stephen King started writing the Dark Tower series, right? And the Dark Tower series is like his kind of sci-fi.
Or I don't think I watched the movie because I heard the movie wasn't great.
Yes, that's the thing, dude. If you're gonna look at Stephen King stories, you cannot go by the movies. Most Stephen King movies were cheaply made, almost made for TV or typically made for TV movies. Yeah, because that's what was popular. He was so big at the time, that's what they were doing, and he was making money and doing copious amounts of cocaine at the time. So it just made sense for him to just cash these checks and do this kind of shit. But like with that said though, man, like he was getting into writing the Dark Tower series, and the Dark Tower series goes way more into the Macroverse and this entire universe that Stephen King created because Pennywise shows up in other novels that Stephen King has written before.
Such as
at the
which ones?
The Dark Tower series.
Oh, Pennywise is in Dark Tower?
Like he's mentioned quickly.
So is it all
the
same
series.
Universe essentially? Dark Tower and it?
It's kind of hard to get into because I haven't read all of the Dark Tower, so I don't want to say anything wrong. But they kind of go into different. Man, I don't want to explain that incorrectly, but let's just say Stephen King has created his own universe, his own universes, plural, and Pennywise is a part of that. Multiverse. There we go. Stephen King has his own multiverse. Pennywise is a part of that and has been seen in different universes in that multiverse.
Okay, yes. Dumb question since I haven't done Dark Tower. How many is there? You said series.
How many Dark Tower books are there?
Yeah.
Shit, dude. There's a lot. There's Gunslinger, Drawing of Three.
I think there's one behind me, actually.
Wastelands, Wizard and Glass, The Little Sister of something. I don't remember. Wolves.
The Gunslinger's actually behind me that I think was given to the missus to read that I haven't read. I don't know if she read it.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 9 books. Because
God dang, it's a lot.
Yeah, there's not he didn't write them all at once. Like he started in the Gunslinger's the first one. That was in 82. Then the Drawing of Three was in 87. Then I think the other ones came out in the 90s and then the early 2000s. The last one is called The Wind Through the Key. The Wind Through the Keyhole is the last one, and that one came out in 2012. So yeah, man, he was writing that shit forever. It's like a dark fantasy, horror, sci-fi kind of Western series. And I've only read Dark Tower and some of Drawing of Three, and I read a couple couple of chapters of The Wastelands because I thought that The Wastelands was the second book. It turned out to be the third book. I was reading them out of order and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. The Dark Tower, however, is the first one. I'm sorry, The Gunslinger is the first book and it's the shortest one. And you can get through that one pretty quickly. And I'm a slow reader and I got through that one pretty quick. So, yeah, man, it's a whole fucking thing. And Pennywise pops up in one of those. I don't remember which book that he pops up in, but he's mentioned in one of those books, and he's also mentioned in other Stephen King stories that I should have wrote down, to be honest with you, but I've forgotten since what he was in. And oh man, I want to let me think. Things like Pennywise come up all the time, like even in Harry Potter, the Boggarts. That's influenced by Pennywise. Those are the. I don't know if you're a big Harry. I don't think you're a big Harry Potter fan, but
No.
the missus will know. The Boggarts were based off of Pennywise.
Really?
There's a band called Pennywise. It's a punk rock
I know
group.
I've heard of the band.
Yeah, and I used to be hella into them.
Honestly, like
but anyway,
Pennywise, especially like he definitely was very into pop culture when the miniseries come out, but since the resurgence and like the remakes, he's even more in pop culture now, like across everything. Like Pennywise is all over the place.
yeah, he really is. And the whole point of me bringing him up is just to show a little respect to the character himself. And yeah, he's an icon. And the character himself, what he has done for the horror community. Like I said, anything scary clown-esque is thanks to Stephen King's It and Pennywise himself and all the fear stuff, Pennywise.
You also have to show respect to Stephen King because it's insane how much this dude has done and how much he's put out for horror and content-wise and just how much he's helped shape horror in general. Like you think about all his contributions. Dude has I don't even want to know how many novels he's got. I know it's a shit ton.
Yeah, it's too many to count for sure. You could.
What was his earliest? Carrie? Was Carrie? No.
Carrie was one of his first books, actually.
Was it Carrie then Salem's Lot? I'm trying to think of which.
I think so because he wrote Carrie and then threw it in the trash because he was like, I have no business writing a woman being the main character because I'm not a woman. I don't know what this is like. And his wife actually took it out of the trash and read it and was like, no, this is good. You should finish this. And that was his motivation to finish that book.
That came out in 1974. So this dude's been putting out horror novels, horror sci-fi novels, whatever you want to lump it into. Since 1974. And just think of how much he's influenced in that time frame. It's a lot,
man.
Like you said, Pennywise is everywhere. Like this dude has influenced a lot. And it's stuff that, I mean, there's things from like The Mist to Cujo, Pet Sematary. I mean, it's all over the place. The Shining. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Christine, Boogeyman, which I think is an older one, is actually getting a movie made here soon, or it's not made. It's coming out here soon, rather. I believe, right? I don't think there's ever been a Boogeyman. Well, there's been Boogeyman movies, but not Stephen King's Boogeyman.
Yeah.
So that's coming out. Like it's insane. It's actually crazy.
I'm trying to remember the other.
Did he do
books
Shawshank?
that he was in? Okay, he was in. I think so. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, but Pennywise showed up in Gray Matter. It was a short story that Stephen King wrote in the early 70s. I don't remember when, but he definitely showed up in the Tommyknockers. That was the book that I couldn't remember that he showed up in. There's a hallucination that Tommy's having, the main character.
Tommyknockers. Damn, I forgot about that one. That was also a series or a mini thing, wasn't it? Or a TV movie. It was something. I remember that.
But in the book, while they were in town, Tommy, the titular character, saw
the Tituba character?
Tituba character. He saw a clown with shiny silver dollars for eyes, and it was looking at him from the sewer drain. And that was like the only proper appearance of it because they described his silver dollar eyes that were shiny and how he was looking at Tommy through a sewer drain. And then he's mentioned in other books, but in Tommyknockers, like a character straight up saw Pennywise. And for those of you who haven't read the book and may or may not have seen the movies, I'm going to spoil this, but in the end of the book, they finally kill Pennywise. They rip his heart out, and Pennywise's true form is the Deadlights. But he has a form of a giant space spider, right? But when he takes that form, he's a female spider that is pregnant. He lays a shit ton of eggs, and they go through and try to kill. They stomp out like most of the eggs, and they leave one egg that they didn't realize was left. And I don't remember Stephen King coming out and saying this, to be honest, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm pretty sure that he left the door open for him to return to Pennywise if he ever wanted to. And there has been buzz around the Stephen King community for years saying that Pennywise could easily show back up because this child, this Pennywise kid or whatever, could be the exact same thing, a reincarnation, if you will, could be even more powerful.
Wait, what? Whoa. Run that back, child. What?
This child of Pennywise, essentially, because the spider,
the one spider. Gotcha.
Yeah, it could be a reincarnation of Pennywise. It could be him again. Like, if you guys are familiar with Dragon Ball, King Piccolo, as Goku killed him, spit out an egg, and it was like Piccolo Jr., the Piccolo that we all know. It could be that kind of situation, and he could be even stronger. And they mention him a bit in other Stephen King novels. So, like, we could easily get another book with the Pennywise character. But, you know, Stephen King's doing other shit and whatever. But, like, would I want that sequel? Fuck yeah, I want that. It doesn't need to be near. I would actually love for it to be a short story that he could add to later if he wanted. But, like, leave the door open for that kind of character. Anyway, all that said, Pennywise is dope. His influence is everywhere, as we said today, and I just wanted to take the time to kind of go over that a little bit.
And this has been the Sippin With Sin horror icon series. We could do that. We could take time to like highlight, showcase, whatever you want to call it, iconic horror characters.
I'm down. I would love to like head up a few of those episodes if you don't mind.
I mean, it's totally. And if you guys enjoy this, we both have a huge spot in our hearts for our thumping gizzards, whatever you want to call that thing in our chest, for horror. So it's definitely interesting stuff. And like I said, I learned some stuff today about him and had that epiphany. And just looking at some of Stephen King's body of work, dude, it's actually kind of mind blowing how much. Like, you've either seen a movie or a show or something off of these novels. It's pretty crazy. Like, I'm going down the list and I'm just seeing something like, oh, yeah, that's that. And I feel like a lot of it's come out recently. The Outsider, there was a show on that.
Yeah, Stephen King is one of the easiest authors for studios to jump behind and start putting out movies, TV shows about his work because he has so much of it and he's super popular in the horror community. So, yeah, people are going to do that all the time. Pet Sematary was one.
Like, I was trying to find. There was a recent one that had kid from It. What was his name? Oh my God, the main kid. Why am I drawing a blank? Help me.
The kid that played Bill?
Yes, Bill. God, dude, I cannot. I'm sitting here like it's Georgie's brother, and I was drawing huge blanks. I was thinking of like everybody else. He's in it, I think, and it was something. Somebody's phone. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was trying to find what book that was, and I don't see it right here. But there's stuff that's not listed. Cell. Maybe that was it. Was it just called Cell?
Probably. That sounds really familiar.
Story follows struggling to reunite young son out. No, that's not it. I don't think. I don't know, but there's a bunch. I saw that one's inspired. 1408, Gerald's Game. I already said Christine. 1922. The Mist. Misery. The Stand. Carrie, of course. Thinner. Tommy Knockers. Dude, there's so freaking much.
I actually just watched Thinner like last month. Because it was on HBO Max.
Insomnia. Is that? No. I was wondering if that was a movie that had was it Pacino? Do you remember the Insomnia movie? It had Robin Williams, I think, and somebody. It was a detective. He goes to Alaska.
I
Do
vaguely
you know what I'm talking about?
remember that. Yeah.
I don't think that was that one though. Man, craziness. What a blast! What a blast talking about Stephen freaking King. I have a weird Stephen King book. He's an avid Red Sox fan. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
He wrote a book called Faithful, and it's about the 2004, I think, Red Sox championship run. And it's like a thick book. And I got it because
I haven't read. I'm not like huge into sports, so I haven't even tried to look that up. But now I know it exists.
It's him and somebody else, and they're just pretty much like recounting like the whole season and like the stuff they went through and everything and all that. One thing I'll say about Stephen King though, before we get off of this subject, I know we kind of went from Pennywise to Stephen King, but have you noticed how much stuff is in Maine of his stories?
Mm-hmm.
It's so much stuff in Maine.
Yeah, he does it on purpose.
Like that's like his go-to spot is Maine.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's where he grew up, so that's like where he does all that. That's why he does all that shit.
Fair enough. All right. Anything else you want to add about Pennywise?
Not that I know of.
What was your favorite? How do I word this? I want to ask like your favorite Pennywise in a movie. Like, would you go with part 1, part 2, or the miniseries?
Oh, like my favorite. I don't know how to word that
exactly. Like how
like my favorite depiction of him from the movies.
I haven't read the book, so I can't throw the book as one.
Well, if the book were an option, it would be that. But just based off of the visual media from the miniseries to the 2 movies that we got, I really, really, really like his depiction in the 2017 It Chapter 1. That was great. I really enjoyed that. I love the music. I love the tone. Obviously, everybody loves the kid actors. They were fantastic. Pennywise himself was great. I really liked what Skarsgård did with the character and the way that he moved around. Obviously, I have complaints with the movie, but we're not reviewing the movie, so I won't even get into those. But that's my favorite depiction of him. He was practically the same in Chapter 2, but there were just so many things in Chapter 2 that brought down the...
I just don't think they let him do as much of what made him creepy in Chapter 1 as Chapter 2 to me. Like, I feel like they CGI'd and did way too much
he wasn't
stuff.
the... Pennywise was no longer the main character in Chapter 2, right? The kids were the main characters, but Pennywise was the character that we wanted to see. And every time we got to see Pennywise in Chapter 2, there was so much CGI and so much else going on that he wasn't the focus. So they lost focus in the second one. But in the first one, 2017, It Chapter 1, definitely my favorite depiction of him.
I think I would agree with you. I do put Tim Curry up there pretty high just because his original is pretty creepy. But Skarsgård did a lot of stuff I really liked with just him in the makeup and the setup. I really did like it. It was really creepy. The eye movement, the way he can do his eyes all weird, the drool, the way he held his mouth, like I thought he did a really, really good job in that one. I did like that version of Pennywise quite a bit. To the makeup was pretty cool. It was different. It was a little more sinister looking with the smile going all the way up to the eyes and everything. The hair was a little different, kind of a balding clown, if you will, in a way. Like, yeah, pretty good. All right. Well, that was fun. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. It's time now that we...
Pass the whiskey.
That's right. Get your...
Whiskey!
As we go to the last call question. And this week, our last call question is going to keep it within the Stephen King range. As we ask, what is your favorite Stephen King story? And I'm going to let Christian go first because I'm going to be honest, that's tough.
Favorite story. I've read a few Stephen King novels just because I am a fan, and it was fantastic. I really liked it. There was a lot in that story that didn't need to be there, like one particular scene where all the kids kind of have like a weird orgy. That was weird, and I didn't need that in my life. But to me, my favorite story that he's done so far, that from what I've read, is Pet Cemetery. And the reason behind that is because reading that novel, there were two scenes in particular that actually fucking got like chills up my arms when I was reading it, and it kind of fucked with me. And then becoming a parent too, and the whole point behind that book, the like what the story's trying to tell you is it's all about the grief of a child, right? Like a parent grieving their child, and that's some shit that I wouldn't wish on anybody.
Nope.
And dude, like just reading that and how the characters are trying to deal with it, and then having this cemetery that reanimates, dead beings, and the evil that's behind it, and the story of the Wendigo and all that shit. Like that story was told in such a way where not only did it like creep me out and kind of scared me a little bit, but it also like made me feel really fucking bad for the main characters, Lewis, and then seeing the movies after that, like the original Pet Cemetery movie, like Gage, dude, little Milo, dude, like Milo, excuse me, Miko, excuse me, like that shit was awesome. I fucking loved Gage in those stories. He was fantastic, and then having Judd, like that was awesome. Herman Munster or whatever, just being the main guy, like that was awesome. Definitely Pet Cemetery for me. Not just because I like the movie, but actually reading the story. The story was fantastic, and if you haven't read it or given it the time of day, like seek it out, find it, like listen to an audio, whatever it takes. But it's fantastic. And I will say for you, Sin, I like to read stuff if I can, and if I can't find a physical copy, I'll opt for a audio of it. But the new audio for Pet Cemetery, is actually read by the guy who plays Dexter. So
Michael C. Hall?
if you like, yeah, Michael C. Hall
What?
is the is
Where?
the is the narrator for
All
that,
right, you might have just sold me on that.
dude.
I was just about to say I'm not a big reader. I've read and I'll get like spurts where I'll read something and I'll want to read something and engross. But for me, I've always feel like I need to be doing something else. Like I stay real busy. My mind stays going, all that with especially my line of work. So I love like podcast formats, or even I feel like I would do better with an audiobook if I could just put like a headset on while I'm like
Mhm.
with my son or he's napping or something, or I'm doing something else. So I definitely want to go more into audiobooks because there's a lot that I feel like I'm missing out on, because I would say 97% of the time the book is going to be better than any kind of movie. In what I've always heard, like anytime the missus has read something and then watched it, she's like, well, obviously the book's better. But I think there's only been like one exception where she was like, the book was not better. Like they made it better. And I can't remember what it was, but I was like, well, that's weird. How often do you hear that? Like someone say it's not better than the book. Just because they can go into more
I mean,
detail and
yeah.
like descriptive and so forth, so forth.
Yeah, dude, I highly, highly, highly recommend seek out the audio copy of Pet Cemetery. Michael C. Hall does narrate the entire
Does he do
book,
a lot of
and it's
books? I didn't
fantastic.
know he did that.
That's the only one that I've seen him do personally, and I've listened to.
Where do I go to find that? You have my complete attention. You said Dexter and Pet Cemetery. Now I'm like, okay, tell me more.
Um, I know for a fact when I looked it up, I got it from Audible,
Okay.
and that's where I found it. But I'm sure you could find it somewhere else too. Um, I'll have to look it up and see
Okay.
where it would
That's
be available.
that
But
has
yeah,
my attention.
definitely worth looking. Absolutely worth looking
So
up
you
for
kind of took
sure.
my answer. Like I said, I haven't read. I don't know that I've ever read a Stephen King book, but then again, I haven't read a lot of books. Um, I've read some, but I don't know. My wife is more of the reader than I am. Um,
Mhm.
so best story for me, I was gonna say Pet Cemetery because I don't know. It's just something about that one that's just creepy as hell. It just I like it. I really like it. But since Christian took it, we're not gonna say that one. And I'm not gonna say it, even though it's up there. There's so many literally I
My
could
bad.
say. So many that I could easily say and take them. Um, but I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball since Christian messed me up. I'm gonna go with Misery. I thought about The Shining just because I do love The Shining.
Misery
is a great
fantastic.
story to me.
Fantastic.
Something that obviously Stephen King knows about. It's a writer, and I'm sure fans and like overkill on like a rabid #1 stalker fan. Just all of it down to, oh God, what is it called? There is a technical term for what she does to him. Hobbling? No,
that was correct. That's
hobbling,
correct.
where she puts the blocks on his. Oh God, it's brutal. You have Kathy Bates in there, who is fantastic. She does a great job in that role. What is the name of that the guy, the main character, the actor? I can't remember. This is also a made-for-TV movie, I think.
I can't think of his name right now. I know in the book his name is Paul.
Yeah, Paul Sheldon is his name, is the character's name. The actor, that's gonna drive me crazy. Where is it at? Now I have to know. Misery movie. Came out in 1990. Actor's name is James Caan. James Caan. Plays Paul Sheldon. I really like that one. I really enjoy watching that one. It's such a good story. It's so well done, and definitely pulling out a material that, I mean, obviously, definitely, I don't think Stephen King's had that go to that extent, but I'm sure he's had some crazy fans in his however many years at this point of writing that have been like almost stalkerish and overkill and like went overboard. Honorable mention definitely goes to The Shining, though. That one was up there. One that I really do enjoy. Also have to throw out there Silver Bullet, I think it's called. I always enjoy watching that movie in October. Silver Bullet's a solid one. What else? Is it Silver Bullet? Right? Which is also kind of a play on It, I think. Because what is the name of
that one? Is that's a short story as well.
Bill's bike. Didn't he call it Silver Bullet or something?
No. His bike is silver.
Just silver.
I'll silver.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe they were connected.
I'll silver away.
Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna go with Misery. Since Christian messed mine up. Cujo's another good one. Cujo's pretty solid.
Actually, haven't read all of Cujo. I need to do that.
Again, I'm just going based off movie stuff, and usually you gotta love Fear Fest, and they have like a Stephen King just marathon, and you get like all the goodness at once, and they're always fun to watch. I'm excited for Boogeyman though. I hope it's good. I really do.
I'm gonna be like, I'm like optimistic for it, but I'm also not like looking forward to it because I feel like that could easily be not great. You know what I'm saying?
So
I'm not gonna get my hopes up, is what I'm saying.
One little thing I forgot to bring up. We talked about it, I think it was last episode, and that's Voyage of Demeter. The trailer. It got its rating. It's gonna be rated R, which makes me happy because that tells me it's gonna be a little more graphic and stuff, which I want it to be for a Dracula movie. I don't want them to water it down. Let Dracula eat. Let him feast. I want to see Dracula be Dracula, damn it.
I think it's actually rated R for bloody Dracula violence is what it's.
How cool is that in the title though? Like, Dracula's about to mess some shit up. Like, this essentially, hey, Dracula's about to kill some shit. Get ready.
The movie, so like I watched the trailer again. I don't think we talked about this last time, but I did watch the trailer again, and it looks like it will be okay, but like really bloody and graphic. So I'm really happy about that. But as far as like the overall story and stuff goes, it looks like there's some left to be desired because obviously we know that nobody's going to make it off this fucking ship. Dracula's getting off of this fucker. He's going into London, and he's going to fuck shit up. But like, I really hope that they take their time in this movie and they don't show him immediately and all the time. I hope that they take their time with,
you want him
how
to build
they
up
reveal
to
the
it,
character.
like a Godzilla approach.
Yeah.
You want like most of the movie to build and then you get the monster reveal kind of deal.
Not like most of it, but like This is what I'm trying to say, and this happens a lot in American cinema, horror especially. I want I don't want them to be afraid of shadows, right? Shit should be dark. There should be shadows that seem like they're moving around. Dracula should be fucking turning into things. He should be swift and cunning and clever. He shouldn't just be like a winged Hulk ripping through everyone. Like if we get a scene of that, by all means, by all means. But I want to
You don't want
see
the
a
whole movie.
fucking yeah, exactly. I want to see a stealthy, fucking invincible killer
You
on
know what
this
I would
thing.
like
That's
to
what
see
I
at the
want.
end? At the end.
That.
Very end. So from the still or like the trailer, we see he's like more of the demonic looking like the rough, real like vampire, not the suave, gentleman or whatever, sophisticated, whatever that Dracula to be. He's more of like the creature, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I would love at the end, like let him be the creature and stuff, and maybe as he feeds, like you said, more like he gets stronger, his abilities, like he's going around like turn into mist or whatever, they're gonna do with him. At the end, I would love for him to, like, if he survives, which who knows, they may kill him because you never know what they're gonna do nowadays. But if he survives and he makes it off the ship, which I hope he does, I would like for him to turn into a person at the end. Like he's fed enough that he like now transforms into, like normal person dressed up, like picks up a little top hat or something, puts it on, and like all clean and dapper looking. I would love for that to be the case, is how the movie ends up going. But we'll see. We will see what happens. And we lost Christian again. I love these issues for the video versions. I'm sorry, you get full screen me for a minute. In the audio version, you still got me in your ear holes. I hope you like it. Yes, I do. But that's gonna do it for this episode of the podcast. We're gonna start wrapping it up. And Christian, I think, is coming back. He's appearing. Man is on his Dragon Ball stuff today. But that's gonna do it for this episode of the podcast. We appreciate you listening. And as always, you can find the new audio episodes every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, Overcast, all the stuff. 8 a.m. Central. Rate it 5 stars. Share it with a friend. Subscribe, follow, whatever. All that good stuff. Show it some love. Continue to give us listens. We appreciate it. Keep spreading the word. You can also find us on social media at Sippin With Sin, SIPPIM with Sin, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And of course, if you would like your question to be featured in an episode of Sippin With Sin, be sure to drop us a message with the last call question. You can join the Gilded server, gilded.gg/Sinister pack. In the application, put from the pod. There's a whole section dedicated just to the podcast. And there's also my other streaming stuff and community stuff. You're more than welcome to hang out there and chat with us and get to know us. But you can have a direct line to us there. It is a whole section dedicated to last call questions or Sinister Tales. Or if you would like to know about horror icons, you have somebody you would like us to go over, or anything like that, or a list you would like us to do, drop it in episode chat or discussions. There's a whole bunch of stuff. We love feedback from you guys. Let us know what you would like to hear and like us to go into. And then, of course, you can find the video version of the podcast every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Central, on my personal YouTube, youtube.com/IamSinister. Go give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Let us know in the comments what you think. Hit us up on the socials. Give us your last call question there and let us know what you think. Or submit, like I said, horror icons, Sinister Tales, list, any of that good stuff. Hit us up on the socials. We'll take them. You can find me on my personal socials, Twitter and Instagram, IamSinister TV. You can find me over on Kick. We've been grinding Kick lately, kick.com/IamSinister. You can find me also on Twitch, twitch.tv/IamSinister TV, and TikTok at IamSinister TV. And then, of course, Facebook, facebook.com/IamSinister TV. Christian, where can the lovely folks find you?
You guys can find me on my personal Instagram at Vin and Ink, all one word. You can also find me on my horror podcast, Horrorverse Pod, on all the socials. Guys, I'm always online answering questions, saying what's up. We do a lot of versus battles is what I get in my comment section most of the time, which is really fun to do, and I'll keep doing that as long as you guys want. And I also like to do like little amalgamations. And one of those that I just posted today, actually, at the time of this recording, is what if Pennywise became a yellow lantern? So that's the kind of stuff you guys can see over on all of my socials.
Nice. Heck yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Just saw news that. Wait, where did the day go? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game is coming out, I think, August 8th, and it's going to be a day one on Xbox Game Pass. Interesting.
Nice. I will say one more thing before we leave. I would love for the Last Voyage of Demeter, that movie, to end with the quote, "The Death Ship has a new captain." That is one of the most famous lines from the original Nosferatu movie, and that line takes place when we see Nosferatu standing on the ship and everybody is dead. So I
Would
would
you
love
like
to
Dracula to
see
become
that.
go into like human form at the end? Like finally?
I think that because of what we're seeing from the movie, it's not from the preview. It's not necessary. I think because in the book and in the original movie and all that, I'm pretty sure he doesn't just like walk off of the boat, off the ship. I think he turns into mist or something to get off of the ship. I can't remember. Um, but something of that nature happens. So I mean, if he turns into a more humanoid form, like a Nosferatu esque form with like the slick ass coat and shit,
Yeah.
I would be okay with that.
That's
But I
what I'm
don't want to
talking
see
about.
him turn
Like
into
the
like a
dapper
fucking.
gentleman looking, like.
But still with the Nosferatu fangs and
Yeah.
teeth and eyes and weird like.
Maybe like get a
If
top
he
hat or something
looks
and put it down
like,
low and walk off. Like cover. I don't know.
I think if he looks like the Nosferatu that we have known to grow in love at the end of the movie, then sure. But if he looks like a regular person, smooth and sexy and all that, I don't want to see it.
You don't like see sexy?
Not for this.
What if he's wearing a sundress? I mean, the fact that you had to think about that's okay. All right, we're just going to end there
Sundresses
before
are.
Christian goes down the rabbit hole. He's
Yeah,
like,
let's just
Dracula
end it there.
sundress. Say less.
But then how could he wear a sun? He can't be out in the sun, so you won't be able to
I
enjoy
mean,
the
it
drink.
could be a moon dress. Get off of him. He didn't question it. He just wanted to wear
All
it.
right, moon dress. Maybe we're back in it. We're going
Oh,
somewhere.
my God. I'm done with you right now. All right.
But guys, thank you so much.
Yeah. Everybody, you don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. Christian's going to shut it down.
Guys, thank you so much again for coming into another episode of Sipping with Sin. Be sure to smash that like button, leave your comments in the comment section below. But above all else, I'm going to leave you three words that I say on every episode. If you know those words, say them with me. If you don't, listen up carefully. Don't get gutted.
See you guys next time.